Joining us now, not a big brother,
well,
but
maybe to you.
has a big brother-looking beard. He's older than you. Maybe could be a big brother type for you. Really more of a
Oh, hey, bro, what's going on?
fraternal twin. Me, maybe. We've got Mike Schaefer.
Yeah, Mike Schaefer and I used to share a room growing up. We're big brothers. Yeah, big brother guys.
Mike Schaefer, 24/7 Sports, Husker 24/7. Schaefer, how you doing this morning?
I am. I'm doing well. I'm sure I'm not the guest that you would have preferred to have on Tuesday morning after your 49ers were unable to solve the Rubik's Cube that is the Minnesota Vikings defense. I know it's difficult, and then you had to watch as Kyle Shanahan's guy, Kirk Cousins, just carves up that defense. It's it's the best win of my last couple years. So I'm going to soak it in for all it's worth. You have your eyes on a bigger prize, but last night was pretty big for me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, kudos on the win. 49ers didn't play very well. You're going to kind of do what you do there. And listen, if regular season win is what it takes to get you through the season, all for helping out the Vikings fans that way. We're doing, much like with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, we like to do a little charity work sometimes at the 49ers. So,
yeah, no, I'll take all the charity that Minnesota can get. Like it's fine. They're already in the best charity organization possible, the NFC North, constantly just, donation after donation after donation to that division. So I'm fine with it. And, I hope that we get to see a playoff rematch.
The funny thing is, I think I actually picked the Vikings to win that division because I looked at it and I was like, okay, I didn't want to jump on the Lions bandwagon because, there was a little too much hype there. I wasn't feeling it, but I was like, the Bears are going to be terrible. Sorry. I wasn't buying the Jordan Love stuff in Green Bay.
Did the Bears win this week?
I think
they did.
Did the 49ers win this week?
They didn't. No.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. All right. You can keep it. If you don't want to switch rosters or
Tyson Badgett
you keep
is
it.
sick.
You just keep Tyson
Give
Badgett.
me the Heisman in Division 2 all day, every day.
What is that?
Over Brockalicious Purdy?
What is it? That's the Walter
Harlan
Payton
Hill,
award
isn't it?
now. I thought they renamed it to the Walter Payton.
Oh, they might have. Yeah, it used to be Harlan Hill, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I wanted to say the Herman Award, but that's the Heisman Trophy for men's soccer in college. Because well, our guy Duncan McGuire won it here. He's an Omaha kid, right? Okay. Anyway, let's talk about Nebraska because that's what we brought you on here for, allegedly.
Are you sure? I mean, we can go wherever you go.
Well, I mean, I was lucky to be distracted last night as the 49ers weren't performing well to see the Rangers knock off the evil Astros. I was excited about that. We got a game 7 in the NLCS. I mean, the baseball playoffs are starting to pick up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's now that we've moved past the point of the crying where people were upset that, the teams that win 99 games should just get a bye all the way to the World Series. Turns out once we move past all of those tiers, and just enjoy the baseball for what it is, it's been pretty good. You can't ask for two game 7s in your league championship series. It's pretty phenomenal.
Couldn't agree more.
That's great.
That's as good as it gets. You don't
because of the divisional series, we're just 2-0 sweeps.
Yeah, right. We're done here. I would encourage people that want the regular season teams to be rewarded. Not to drop my second soccer reference in 5 minutes, but European football, like they just the winner of the league is the winner of the league. There's no playoffs. Like that's kind of what people are asking for here.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Keep
that on the other side of the ocean.
Like
just
we like
that
playoffs.
for the loser mentality over there.
We like playoffs. Let's
reward random hotness at a random period of time. That is what we do in America.
You know why?
That's how they won the war. They got hot at the right time. You never forget that.
I think it might have a little something to do with the French as well. But no, I like that take is America won the war because they just got hot at the right time.
That's what it is. They won the league table. Nobody cares. America won the cup.
British were the British were a little bit lackadaisical after getting a huge lead in the regular season. They weren't playing games that mattered down the stretch, and they got a little lazy. Too much
rest.
It was the rest versus rust. The British troops were on the rust side, and man, the American troops, they've been playing playoff games this whole time, and they got it done.
You think they weren't prepared for Valley Forge?
See, if this was how my history lesson went, I'd probably actually learn something.
I
in
was
school.
gonna. If Andrew was sitting there, it's like, wait, so the Americans got hot late, and they were like a wild card into the division, and they made it in, and they got hot.
How many point
And wait,
underdogs
who's
at
David
Yorktown?
Freeze in this scenario?
What was that, Schaefer?
There were how many point underdog at Yorktown?
At least 3 touchdowns. This might have been an Appalachian State over Michigan situation, if we're being honest here.
Yeah, they got Nathan Hale back off the IR, and it really turned things around for him.
Wait, so is the sign stealer? Is that Benedict Cumberbatch? Is that or not Benedict? Who's that? Benedict Arnold. Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, he's Doctor Strange.
He's Dr. Strange. Yeah,
Connor Stallions is Doctor Strange. I think that actually fits pretty well.
Benedict Arnold. Oh
No,
gosh.
it's Eggs Benedict. That's what you were looking
I'm actually not a big Eggs Benedict guy.
for. No, not so much.
It's like the hollandaise sauce. I don't know. I'm not about it. Schaefer, you look like a Benedict guy. No?
It's on the breakfast menu, and I'm going right by to find the skillets,
I'm a big
to
skillet
find
guy.
breakfast burritos, huevos rancheros, or the sweet tooth really hits, and it's like the French toast, or even pancakes, as boring as it gets sometimes. Still just hits. I take those all over Eggs Benedict.
I've been doing a lot of chicken fried steaks with like a sausage
yeah.
gravy
I
lately.
love chicken
Yeah.
fried steak.
Yeah,
It doesn't come out as good as it goes in, but I love it.
I didn't really,
I mean, does anything? I mean, really?
I hope not. I mean, if it's the same going in as coming out,
yeah,
either
like,
you've got a
I'm just telling
digestive
you.
problem or you're eating
Country
literal
fries.
crap.
We have different versions of what we enjoy about eating, Andrew, if that's what we're looking for.
I'm just saying, country fried steaks just don't go through my stomach the way that I wish they would.
Unless you're one of those like bodybuilders that's like blending up their food, like chicken and stuff, and drinking it that way, it's gonna come out differently than it goes in.
Oh.
All right, Schaefer. Well, that was a good waste of 10 minutes. I appreciate that.
That's the goal every time I come on this show.
That American Revolution take really got me. You flustered me into saying Benedict Cumberbatch.
The British are coming. The British are coming.
No, that's Paul Revere.
I
That's
know.
not Doctor Strange.
Thank you. Let's just go into a different dimension and talk sports now.
All right. Hey, good call there on the Doctor Strange. I like that. We're going into the mirror dimension where this interview actually was on track.
Now we just wasted another minute.
Maybe. Schaefer, the Huskers, they have an opportunity to be bowl eligible before, basically by the start of November here. But they've got basically a mash unit on offense. I guess, how do you weigh the opportunity of the schedule versus the hardships that they've started facing in terms of just depleted roster?
In a weird way, the fact that they've been dealing with injuries the entire year sort of allows the mentality for them to just kind of move on with it. Like, they've had to have backups everywhere else. Now they have more backups on the offensive line. I don't say this to be malicious, but it's not like I'm not anticipating that the drop off from what was starting on the offensive line to who is going to come in is going to be so severe that it completely wrecks an offense that already kind of is limited anyways. So
Sure.
A lot of it to me is just like, all right, like, it's the next guy that has to step in here. We've seen this already. Like, Emmett Johnson's a 4-string running back, and he had the best day for running backs on Saturday. Heinrich Haarberg's your backup quarterback, and he's giving you opportunities every week. And Malachi Coleman steps in and wasn't expected to really be as involved as he is right now. And he comes in with the critical big catch running by the defense there in the fourth quarter. So it's just I think if you view it from the mentality, okay, we've been down this road, guys have had to step up. It's now Henry Lutovsky's turn. It's now Teddy Prohaska's turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's now time for Gunnar Gatula to be available if he has to come in. Sam Sledge, guys like that. Like, it's just I think the mentality has been built with inside the walls, and now it just needs to be built with inside the offensive line room. I mean, that's everybody else has taken their turn on the wheel. And so I would imagine the pride factor is, okay, now it's our turn to pick our guys up. And I think that has to be the way you approach it, because there shouldn't be a panic. It should just be, all right, we got to put one foot in front of the other. That's what we've been doing all year long. Why change it now?
Schaefer, if Nebraska didn't have Matt Rhule as their head coach this season, do you think whomever held the role would be able to navigate the injury troubles just as well and keep the Huskers in a position to keep winning games?
It's hard without knowing who the other person is, and there are other coaches that would probably be able to navigate this or have found some ways to mitigate some of the losses. But I think it certainly speaks to what the hope is for Matt Rhule, that he has been able to kind of navigate a season which has not gone in any fashion how Nebraska would have wanted on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, it's been everything and more that you could have asked for. So I think in part because they have one unit that they've just been able to rely on in every game that doesn't involve the arguably best team in the country. Nebraska's defense has shown up for at least 3 quarters. They have forced other teams to change and adapt to them, which I think is kind of the remarkable aspect of all of it. And that alone kind of gives you an opportunity. I think part of the NFL mentality that Matt Rhule has brought to this team, which is every game is going to come down to about, a handful of plays, and we have to continue working hard. You can't just let one play sit in your head for too long. You can't let that defeat you. You're going to have another opportunity. And it's always time for someone else to step up, and a different person is doing it every week. I mean, if you're Henry Lutovsky and you see that James Williams, the scout team defensive end, went in last week and had a massive game, you should feel like the same thing that allowed James Williams to flourish within the walls of that organization should allow you to step in and play well. And you have experience where James Williams is not. Same thing with Teddy Prochazka. I mean, I think from a confidence standpoint, it would require a different type of coach to be able to do what Matt Rhule has given these guys. We just haven't seen Nebraska play with a lot of confidence. They're not playing really well, but it strikes me as they're confident in what they're doing. And sometimes that's a big portion of the battle.
Schaefer, I'm curious, we've talked about Teddy Prochazka a decent amount, for obvious reasons with the situation on the offensive line. I was a little concerned about how he looked earlier in the season. Didn't necessarily look like he was 100%, or maybe not the version that maybe we thought. And I don't even know how real that version was of what we thought he was, because it was in such a limited sample size.
6 quarters, basically.
Yeah, early in his career. I guess how much of it to you is maybe we didn't really have a correct grasp on what he was early in his career? How much of it do you think is just the injuries, and maybe even his added growth has taken a toll on his movement? And how much of it's just, hey, he's coming back from injury, he's a little rusty, hasn't played a ton of football in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think there's a portion of this that, we built Teddy Prochazka to be more than he probably was, because, again, he had started 6 quarters of football before getting hurt against Michigan in 2021. He had played prior to that, but it hadn't been quite the same as – and then, obviously, his start coincides with Nebraska just completely destroying Northwestern. So you kind of have that in the background of all of it. Then you have these injuries. And for me, I think the largest portion of it has little to do with the physical side of things, because I think a lot of it for Teddy Prochazka is between the ears right now. I mean, he talked last year after the North Dakota game that he didn't have the confidence that he felt like he needed to be out there to play left tackle, which is a scary thing to hear from your offensive lineman, and particularly your blindside blocker. I think that mental side of it has been the biggest reason why he's still chasing or hasn't been, the guy at left tackle this year. And the other thing is he doesn't have a ton of experience either. So, for him, I think Nebraska is going to have to treat this game on Saturday. They're probably going to have to give extra help. You're going to have to chip with tight ends. You're going to have to chip with your up back or your running back. I mean, you're going to potentially want to roll away from Teddy Prochazka's side. I don't know that you can comfortably say that you know what you're going to get from a guy who struggled as much as he did against Michigan. And granted, it's Michigan. But otherwise has had 2 kind of walkabout seasons so far since the last real meaningful, consistent playing time he had in 2021. So I think because of all of that, you kind of treat him a little bit differently. And at the same time, you're trying to build that confidence. I hope he spends a lot of time this week with the sports psychologists over there at Nebraska. I hope that they have an opportunity to really kind of build up some confidence for him. I think it's a critical thing. I mean, this is his job the rest of the year.
Mhm.
And it is huge for Nebraska. Like, let's say this goes okay to well. They have a potential left tackle now for a couple years after that. They have an actual asset developed in real time who went through the trauma and everything else to come out the other side and give you a potential starting piece at the area of the roster where you're, quite frankly, the weakest. This is huge for Nebraska. I think that, the investment in Teddy Prohaska needs to be big, and they need to make sure that the confidence can stay high and that mentally he feels like he's sharp, because what they can get out of it is so much bigger than what they're going to be able to find in the transfer portal. I mean, I just think the reality of trying to go in and getting a guy like Walter Rouse, that was a once in a blue moon situation, and it didn't even come to fruition. I don't think you can bank on that. So if Teddy Prohaska can develop into being your starting left tackle for 2024, that's the best thing that could happen for Nebraska in this whole situation.
Schaefer, we got into this a bit yesterday. There is a world where Nebraska wins the Big Ten West and plays in the Big Ten championship game. But is that a world you think is beneficial enough to see Nebraska get blown out?
Yeah, it is. Because it's a step that they haven't been able to take in a long time. I mean, if that's what were to happen, they have to win out, right? So I guess I would take 9-4 with a pair of blowout losses to the two best teams that you play. And then I would look at it like, okay, you started 0-2, then you finished 9-4. So you finished 9-2. You lost to the two best teams that you played. You took care of that soft underbelly of the Big Ten, teams that you're going to be going up against, teams that you're going to have to make your money against every year going forward. That would tell me that there's probably even more development happening there within the organization. That means they probably took a little bit of a step forward offensively. It's hard to imagine the game against Northwestern, that team winning the Big Ten. Maybe they could. Maybe the defense can just do the entire thing for them. But I think that the lift it would give you, and it would sort of, jumpstart this whole thing. And once you get into the transfer portal, you're talking about the 2025, 2026 recruiting. You're talking about Matt Rhule being able to go to the kids in Texas and be like, all right, look at that. Come up to Nebraska. We're already winning things in 1 year here. So I think the benefits of it would far exceed the fact that you would be on Fox on December 2nd, potentially staring at like a 35-7 game early in the third quarter. I mean, if that's what it was, look, Nebraska lost 70 to something in 2012, and they'd still prefer to win the division than not. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Like, yes, it's an extra loss, but then they turn around, they get to play in a January 1 bowl game, more than likely. You'd be going to Tampa, or you'd be playing in the Cheez-Its Bowl. I mean, who wouldn't want that? Seriously. Like, compared to where this program was a year ago or 2 years ago, where your athletic director talks everyone into the idea that you're going to save money by reducing the buyout, bringing back a lame duck coach, and 2 years later, you're in the Big Ten championship. I think it's worth it. I definitely do.
Yeah, Schaefer, I guess because I'm on the other side of it, I don't necessarily want to see Nebraska lose by 50 to Ohio State or whoever.
Sure.
But so I guess I just wonder how much extra benefit is there from going, let's say 8-4 in the regular season, not having the extra game in the Big Ten championship, and not having to be on national TV getting your head kicked in. I guess just how much extra benefit is there from like 9-4 with a butt kicking on national television, and 8-4 with, hey, we're still going to a bowl game that's probably a few slots too high because we're Nebraska and we're going to travel. Like, I guess I just don't feel like there's necessarily a huge difference there.
I think it all depends on who's able to derive and sell the benefit, right? And I think Matt Rhule is someone that would be good at selling this as a benefit to his team, to the recruits. And so I think because he's already kind of a natural sales-oriented individual, he's always crafting messages and I shouldn't say pushing them on people, but I mean, it's really what he kind of does. I think that it would be good and beneficial in this. Like, look, Nebraska's 2024 schedule features some behemoths on there. And, maybe you look at this as like, okay, you had these two opportunities against Michigan and whichever team represents the Big Ten East. It didn't go well. How can we learn from that moving forward? I think everything's a teachable moment for Matt Rhule. And I think that they could benefit from playing in that game. And I think he could use it to his benefit in terms of recruiting and everything else. And I don't think this is the biggest thing, but it would provide a little bit of balm to the burn that's been the Big Ten West for Nebraska. You go out the last year of it, you win the division. This is what you were supposed to do when you showed up the entire time. I think getting people to talk about Nebraska's return under Matt Rhule is a bigger benefit for the offseason than what the loss is necessarily in the moment. But
all right, you're starting to sell me a little bit.
That's a little bit of like having to believe in something that's deeper than just a game right in front of it. Now, nobody wants to be embarrassed, but the small piece of hardware in your first season for Matt Rhule, I think would win over some of the people still that are detractors of him.
Schaefer, got about a minute here quickly, and you've been bringing up Michigan's name left and right. What was your instant reaction to seeing the report that popped out yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I was someone who thought it was going to be pretty bad when it first initially came out. I mean, I didn't think that it was just going to be this small thing, and maybe I'm just conditioned because of the Houston Astros to expect sort of a large, vast conspiracy, but that's what it's been. And frankly, with the recruiting violations that Michigan downplayed, and they seem more significant to the NCAA than what's been portrayed, they couldn't come to an agreement. Throw in 2 more violations like this, 30 games. And then the damning thing to me was Penn State, Ohio State, tickets on either side.
Yeah.
I think this is
what a big dummy
for Michigan. And if the Big Ten had any cojones whatsoever, Michigan wouldn't be allowed to play in the Big Ten championship.
Schaefer, got like 10 seconds. Travis wants to know how much of a home field advantage was an impact on that American Revolution being played on American soil as opposed to Britain.
Pretty big. Pretty big. I would say home field right now about 2.5 points. I would say in that time probably 4.5.
Okay,
4.5 points. You know the landscape a little bit better. You know which areas to avoid.
You don't have to travel.
Yep.
Travel back
the
then.
Travel,
back
big
then.
part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming over on boats. I mean,
it's the time change. What are we talking about?
You don't have to quarter troops anymore because of the Bill of Rights
Second Amendment.
and all
Second
of that.
Amendment right there.
It was a big part
They
of it.
didn't even have their equipment.
Schaefer, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Have a good one, guys.
See you, Schaefer.